Leonid is one of the 5 groups in Hatsune Miku Colorful Stage. They're basically what you would expect from a typical rock band. There's a lead singer, a keyboardist, a bassist, and a drummer. At least from what I've seen, they seem to be the least popular group in the game. Ask pretty much anyone who plays it, and not many of them will tell you that they actually like Leonid. They seem to be one of the most forgotten and overlooked groups in the game. But that's part of why I want to just take some time to talk about them today. Leonid was the group that I started with when I began playing the game, and I grew really attached to the characters and their story. I've never lost that soft spot that I developed for them, so I just wanted to take some time to talk about them and why I like them so much. I'll start by going over Leonid's main story. This is going to be a very rough summary, but that's about all that's needed to understand where each of the characters come from and how they came together to form the band. The very start of the main story begins with a bit of narration from Ichika, along with a flashback showing her stargazing with her friends Saki, Honami, and Shiho. They're all shown to be very close friends, and they seem to have plans to stay together for a very long time. But then we fast forward to the present, and we see that that didn't exactly work out. None of the girls seem to be friends anymore. Ichika, Honami, and Shiho all go to the same school, but they don't talk to each other. We see Ichika try to reach out to the other two and try and re-establish a connection, but they just brush her off and don't talk to her. We get the sense that Ichika has been trying multiple times to reach out to Honami and Shiho, but they just won't respond to her. At the start of the main story, Saki is strangely absent. We have some internal dialogue from Ichika that hints that something happened to her, but we don't exactly learn what that is until a little bit later. We eventually learn that Saki fell very sick as a child and had to move away to receive adequate treatment for her illness, but since she had to move so far away to see a specialist that could treat her properly, it put a lot of strain on her friendships. Saki eventually returns to school at the start of Leonid's story, and she enrolls in the same school that the other 3 are attending. She and Ichika very quickly rekindle their friendship, and if I'm remembering correctly, this is probably in part because Ichika never really stopped visiting Saki in the hospital, whereas Honami and Shiho did. Despite not seeing Honami and Shiho in the hospital as much in the past years, Saki isn't aware of how much the other 3 have drifted apart, and she's very disheartened to see that Ichika, Honami, and Shiho aren't really friends anymore. Ichika and Saki decide to start a band together because it was something that all 4 of the girls had wanted to do since they were very young. They try to get Honami and Shiho to join them, but they initially decline. Ichika and Saki try to continue with just the 2 of them, but it doesn't feel right without Honami and Shiho. Throughout the main story, Ichika and Saki go through the process of convincing Honami and Shiho to join the band so that they can all close the distance that grew between them. Shiho is the first to choose to join the band. We learned that she had a falling out with a previous band she was part of, which led to her gaining a cold and rude reputation. This led to other students spreading rumors about her, which led to her distancing herself from Ichika and Honami because she didn't want those rumors to affect them as well. Then, after a little bit more time, Honami also joins the band. It's revealed that she was bullied pretty heavily by her classmates in middle school. She distanced herself from Ichika and Shiho because her quote-unquote friends, who weren't really her friends, they were actually very mean to her, they would call her disloyal and basically two-faced for trying to be friends with and help everyone. They would basically shame her for trying to spend time with anyone except them. Although Honami left those people behind after middle school, she was terrified that the same thing would happen again. But at the end of the main story, all 4 girls come together and form their band. They call it Leonid, after the Leonid meteor shower that they saw when they were all kids, and they have the slash in the middle to represent a shooting star. Now I want to take a bit of time to go over each individual member of Leonid because I love all 4 of them and I think they deserve more attention and praise than they get. Ichika is the main character of Leonid's story, and she's also the band's lead singer, but she does also play guitar. We at first see her as kind of aimless and listless because she isn't sure what to do, just in general. She misses her childhood friends because she's drifted apart from Honami and Shiho, and Saki has lived far away for years now because of her illness. She wants her relationship with her friends to go back to how it used to be when they were all children, but she isn't sure how to do that. And uncertainty seems to be a recurring theme for Ichika. Next, there's Saki, who was sick for a good part of her early life, and because of her illness she had to move far away from her friends in order to receive proper treatment. Most of her story revolves around her efforts to overcome her illness. She feels like because she was sick for so long, she's missed out on so many experiences that she otherwise would have had if she hadn't been sick, and she frequently pushes herself too far in an effort to make up for this lost time. Saki's return is the driving force behind the whole band coming together. She's often referred to as the glue of Leonid, and not without good reason. Then there's Shiho, who is shown to be very cold and strict. She's not very friendly, and this has led to rumors being spread about her. Despite her cold exterior, though, she greatly cares about the people close to her. This is shown in how she distanced herself from Honami and Ichika to prevent the rumors that were being spread about her from affecting them, even though she's never really cared what anyone thinks about her. Shiho's story revolves around her dream to become a pro musician, and how she struggles to chase it because she doesn't want to feel like she's forcing the other three into a tough path if they don't share that dream with her. And finally, there's Honami. Because of her past experiences, she has trouble speaking up for herself, and she struggles with self-confidence issues. She wants to care for and help everyone around her, but she's afraid that people will see her as disloyal or trying to play both sides if she does this. She's held back by the way that she was bullied in middle school, and her story revolves around her trying to overcome these lingering feelings from the way that she was treated. As for the group as a whole, I love the way that they all work together. They have very good group chemistry. When they come together, they really feel like a whole group rather than just 4 individual parts. They don't suffer from the same lack of group chemistry that some of the other groups in the game do, especially Vivid Bad Squad and Night Court 25. The main story isn't all there is to Leonid, though. There's also their event stories. I'll only talk about and go over the ones that are currently in the English server because those are the only ones I know anything about. The event stories dive deeper into Leonid as a group, as well as the individual characters and their arcs and development. Stella After the Rain focused on Saki and how she often pushes herself too far to make up for what she sees as lost time due to her illness. Throughout the story, she learns not to linger on what she thinks she missed, and to instead cherish the time that she has with her friends now. Don't Let Doubts Hold You Back shows Honami's struggle to speak up for herself and not worry about what others will think of her for her opinions. She learns how to stand her ground and speak up for herself and stop pushing down her feelings to please others. Musical Twilight Parade wasn't a Leonid exclusive event, but it did heavily focus on them and also showed the beginning of Shiho's struggle. She's been given the opportunity to join Standout, which is a band she greatly admires, and they're about to go pro. It's a huge chance to follow her dream of becoming a pro musician, but she's uncertain of if she wants to leave Leonid behind in order to chase that dream. Singing Among the Cherry Blossoms also wasn't Leonid exclusive, but it focuses on Ichika and her efforts to become more skilled in performing in front of other people by putting on live street performances. She gains more confidence in herself through these performances and becomes less certain about performing in front of others. Resonating with You is probably the biggest event for Leonid so far. Ichika, Saki, and Honami all come together to prove to Shiho that they want to chase her dream of going pro with her. None of them can imagine continuing the band without her. This event, and its associated gacha 4=1, really emphasizes the point that it's all 4 members of Leonid that come together to make the band what it is. In Unnamed Harmony, Leonid has now begun the path to going pro. The band is trying to write their own original songs, since so far they've been performing other people's songs, but if they're going to go pro, then they can't keep doing that. It shows Saki struggling to contribute to the band and pushing herself too far in an effort to write a song. The event story shows how, even though Saki has learned how to take it easy, she still struggles to slow down when something is overwhelming her. A Bright Future shows Ichika struggling to write some lyrics that she thinks does Saki's song justice. She has trouble expressing herself in her lyrics, and she keeps trying to write them in a way that she thinks other people would like. In the end, she's able to write the lyrics in a way that feels right to her. There are several other events and event stories that involve members of Leonid, but I won't cover those or talk about them because they aren't super important to the group's story as a whole. The only ones I'll briefly mention are Doll Festival at the Tenmas and The Moon Rabbit and Us, both of which go into Saki and Shiho respectively, and their relationships with their siblings Tsukasa and Shizuku. There's several things that I personally really like about Leonid, and one of those is their story. Their main story especially is deeply rooted in a longing for the past and a struggle to let go of something you miss. Every single one of the members is held back by the past in some way. Ichika misses her childhood friends, but she doesn't know how to bring them back together. Saki feels like she's missed out because of the illness that affected her for so much of her childhood. Honami's past experiences being bullied have given her pretty bad self-confidence issues, and Shiho's falling out with the previous band she was a part of led to the rumors being spread about her. This could just be me, but I also find it interesting that Honami was actually the last one to join the band. Given her sort of nice girl personality, I would have expected her to be more quick to join than Shiho. I've mentioned this before, but I also really like how all of the characters interact with each other. They have a very solid group chemistry with one another, and unlike the other groups in the game, they all have history with each other. They've been friends since childhood, so that bond between them is already there, even if it's faded over the years and at the start of the story. I also love each individual member of the group. Honami's development was incredible, and it was amazing to see her gain more confidence in herself. Saki's story goes surprisingly deep into how illness in childhood can affect someone despite her general cheery demeanor. Shiho really grew on me, since at first she can come across as kind of unlikable, but it's been amazing to see her soften up and become this sort of guiding force for the group. And I also like Ichika. I don't really have a specific justification for it, I just like her. I don't really have any complaints in regards to Leonid and their story. The only thing that I can think of is that Saki might have been a better lead for the story. Since she was the driving force behind the band coming together, it might have been more interesting to see the story from her point of view. We could have easily started the story with the same flashback, just narrated by Saki, and then fast forward to the present and see her shocked and confused when she comes back to school and sees that none of the other three are friends anymore. This is more of a somewhat minor issue though, since I do still really like Ichika as the lead for the group. Now let's talk about the song list, and Leonid's song list is where most people seem to have an issue with the group. Since they're structured like a typical rock band with one lead singer and other members delegated to certain instruments, there's a lot of focus put on Ichika in covers for the band. There's not a single cover by Leonid that doesn't feature Ichika, which is not the same for any other group in the game. There are even plenty of covers, more than a handful, that are only Ichika, often featuring Miku as well. Currently in the English server, there's only 2 full group covers, from Y to Y and Kagero Days. And while this is still better than N25's measly 1 full group cover, it is still less than other groups. In the English server, there is 1 non-full group cover featuring Honami, which is Tale of the Deep Sea Lily. There are 2 featuring Saki, which are Ikanaide and Time Machine, and there is 1 with Shiho, which is Lost Ones Weeping. And even in all of these covers, Miku is in most, if not all of them, with one exception having Rin instead. Speaking of which, there is also a lot of Miku in Leonid's covers, and I have no doubt that this is because Ichika within the game is a huge fan of Miku. As far as I've seen in all of Leonid's covers, even in the JP servers, the only cover with a virtual singer other than Miku is Lost Ones Weeping, which has Rin. Even though the JP server now has all virtual singers appearing in the school Sekai, Luca, Meiko, Kaido, and Len have no covers with Leonid. Basically, Leonid's covers have a very big overemphasis on Ichika and Miku. It's very unbalanced with the other members of the group and the other virtual singers. I'm sure the covers are done this way because Leonid is like a typical rock band with 1 lead singer, so that's why Ichika's featured in so many of them, but that just doesn't quite work for the sort of game that this is. Not even that, but some covers from Leonid just aren't considered very good. The cover of Teo is almost infamously bad because Ichika and Miku just don't sound very good together at all. And besides that, the cover of The Lost Ones Weeping also just isn't very good. It seems to suffer from the same issue as Teo, which is that the singers in the cover just don't mix very well. Even Leonid's commissioned songs, which are significantly better in terms of balancing for featuring each of the group members, aren't very popular. Most people just seem to not really like Leonid's music. So it's time for the closing. And am I trying to make any specific point here? No, not really. I just really like Leonid, and I wanted to talk about them for a little bit because I don't really see anyone else talk about them at all. Leonid holds a very special place in my heart because they're the group that I started with when I first began playing the game, and I really like the story and the characters, although I, like pretty much everyone else, strongly dislike the overemphasis on Ichika and Miku in the group's covers. As a final note, I'll say that my favorite character of the 4 is probably Honami, but that is not a very easy choice to make because I love all 4 of them, and throughout the process of writing the script and making this video, Ichika has like slowly creeped up there, so I might have to do a separate video on her. I might do a whole different video on Ichika by herself. But other than that, that's really it. I don't have anything else to say here, so I'm not gonna let this outro go on too long. Have a great day, farewell, and I'll see you next time.